Okay. Also, if we've got an early start next week, Margaret will be around your houses the evening before to make sure you're in bed by 10 o'clock. Okay? Yeah, I'm not joking. No, exactly. But Margaret's got a lot of effort into this, as you can tell. So it'll be a good session as well. Good time to network, get some freebies, just get a sense of what it's like to actually work in the HR industry. Margaret arranged a CIPD branch meeting. Just some of the many things that Margaret does outside of work. And it's at Duncan House where I'm based. And how many people did you have, Margaret? You had tons, didn't you? 100. That's amazing. That was absolutely amazing. Because they were transferring to the lecture theatre, weren't they?
Yeah, and in fact there were about 30 odd students from Barking College then.
Wow, not UEL, Barking College.
No,
okay, but you do get a sense of it. You get all the suits coming out. You almost get a sort of, if you're in HR, it's almost like you know that other people in HR. It's a sort of bit uncanny, really. I don't know if you wear the same aftershave or perfume, I'm not sure. I'm really surprised, I'm pleasantly surprised that we had so many students here this morning. So I think a good pat on the back, really, assuming that you have handed in your reflective accounts. Good. That's really nice to see. So it's planned and not panic learning. So well done, guys. Pressure's slightly off now because you've got the conference to look forward to. And then we build up really towards the exam. And this session is really part of that build up to the exam because there may well be a question on management development. One of the 5 options that you may have may be on management development. So you probably need to listen to this lecture just in case there is a question on management development. Okay? Let's have a look what we can do. I'm now 8:30 according to that clock. It's 9:30, obviously. This subject is probably, and I think Wilson mentioned this, that this is the most ill-defined notion or term or issue or whatever you'd like to call it in HR. This whole idea of what management development is. Indeed, what management is and what leadership is. So I've got a quick exercise for us this morning just to make sure we've got a general idea about the differences between management and leadership. Because in many ways they are very different. So the methods of developing management skills is very different to developing leadership skills. That may be obvious to some, but it's not. We just tease that out, okay? Because this is an important principle behind the development of managers and leaders. Okay. We'll learn objectives. But at the end of this lecture and seminar, Margaret, we haven't got a workshop, have we?
No.
We've no workshop today. So you've earned yourself a double cappuccino to hand it in. Well done, guys. But what we're saying here is, by the end of the session, by the end of the day, you can describe in general terms the typical role and attributes of a manager and leader, what they tend to do in the work environment. List at least 2 reasons why management and leadership development is critical for organisation performance. And you need to understand that, because there is an exam question on this. You need to put that in. Why are we concentrating? Why am I up here today talking about management development? Why is it so important? And according to Wilson, it's getting more and more important over the last 10 years. And I'll cover that a bit later. And then during the seminar, we'll be looking at the actual methods or techniques that's at our disposal to actually develop managers. Whether it's coaching, mentoring, shadowing, 360-degree feedback, action learning. Some of these terms you may not have come across because they are quite specialist. What we need to do is actually look at a case study, a fictitious case study, presenting an organisation that actually needs to develop staff who don't see themselves as managers. These are people who are senior administrators. And there's a desire or a need, a strategic need to promote them to office managers how do you deal with that? How do you plan that development programme? So that's what we'll be looking at during the seminar activity. So hopefully we can practice the application of this theory, or these theories. So anybody get a notion? Now I'm going to yet, because this is part of the exercise I'll be giving you. Definition. We usually start our lecture series or slides with a definition of the topic that we're presenting, but difficult in this case because there's tons and tons of references to what is management and leadership. Yeah. And that's probably an underestimation. It's probably actually, in real terms, more. Okay. So again, I can't give you a single authoritative definition. Okay. However, I can give you one that I think I really like. I think it's bursting full of good words, really good words that you can latch onto and tease apart. It's my favourite definition, and I must admit I haven't trawled through 265 Google entries. Again, the picture up there, you know, it's the conductor of an orchestra. Yeah? Those people have actually done Belvin, team roles. The coordinator is the staff manager, the staff leader. The shaper, the guy with the whip, is the task manager. Don't get confused. In Belvin terms, and many of you have probably come across Belvin team roles, it's the coordinator, the conductor of the orchestra. And that's a good really, sort of visual representation of really what leadership and probably management is about. Okay? So, out of that definition, what sort of words strike you? What? Yes, influence. So you're not doing, are you? You're influencing others. Yeah? You're getting work achieved, work completed through others. Yeah? The conductor hasn't got an instrument in his hand. What's that? It's a baton, Margaret. What is that? Is there a special word for the conductor's?
Baton.
It's a baton, okay. So again, you're actually influencing, you're not doing, are you? Any other words? Facilitating, yes. Again, it's another term for not doing. You are facilitating. You're not doing it yourself, you are facilitating. Whether it's a group discussion, an event, you're facilitating. So what I have here is influencing others to agree, that's important, consensus, that they agree what needs to be done, yeah, and how to go about it. So agreement is really important, that you get consensus. And in real life, you may actually get disagreement. In fact, you encourage disagreement, because you need to actually, if you've got a plan, it needs to be tested. So you should actually encourage critical inquiry. As students, your powers of critical inquiry will be developed, certainly over the next year. Because that's what learning is about, it's critical inquiry. But, so if you do actually have disagreement, you need to, as a manager and leader, explain all that rationale. People may disagree with you, but at least we understand where you're coming from. And that's typically a mistake that a lot of managers do. They feel that they don't see the need to explain the logic behind their decisions. Then they wonder why they haven't got their troops behind them. Yeah, they're not engaging with their staff. The particular disease in the UK that managers do still seem to have this hierarchical viewpoint. I mean, less so now, it's dissipating. We do seem to sort of be a victim of our own society. Okay, right. This is interesting. You know, what needs to be done? So, what is important? What do we need to do as a team, as an organisation? And also, how do we do it? Okay. So, needs, in a way, is a vision, isn't it? Okay. This is really what we need to do. And the strategy, the business plan, or the strategy, is the how. It's as simple as that. Yeah? So you can read this definition is full of nuances and principles. Also, it's not only about individual efforts, it's collective efforts. So you can lead an individual, but you can also lead the team. Yeah? John Adair had a very famous action leadership model in the 70s and 80s, which is 3 concentric circles. And the first circle was team, second circle was individual, and the third one was task. And they all sort of overlaid themselves. So really, in many ways, a manager needs to look at the individual, team, and the task. Yeah? Right, I think enough sort of teasing apart that definition. And right, okay. What I've got, this could go horribly wrong. I've handed out some coloured paper with a word or a couple of words on there. Okay. So, what I want you to do, I can use that as an example, is this has budget. So what I want you to do, and if you haven't got blue tack stuck on the back, there is a lot of blue tack strategically placed on the wall. But what I want you to do is plot and decide whether budgets or management of budgets or setting of budgets, doesn't really matter, it's not terribly scientific, is probably a manifestation of a facet of management on leadership. Because any manager needs to be a good manager, but also a good leader. Okay? So we do it in a sort of an orderly fashion. If you've got one of these, plot where you think your sheet should be. So as an example, managing budgets, forecasting budgets, budget management. Is that a facet of leadership or management? Management, yes. I'll pick an easy one here. And some of these are quite straightforward. Others, less so. Maybe there's an argument that some of them are actually in two camps. So on this one, we're going to say that budgets are over here. And I think we right over here, actually. That's a good idea. That's furthest away from that leadership sheet. So in your own time, plot, if you're anonymous, nobody's going to be checking what one you've done. So if you just like to plot your sheet on those two flip charts. No, you do it now, but if you want to confer or discuss before you plot, you can do. These aren't colour coding, so don't be fooled by the colours of the paper. We've got a no man's land developing now between management and leadership.
Anyway.
Do you ask the audience? Okay, they've already plotted their sheet. Also, I referenced John Adair. John Adair is the guy with the 3 circles, the action-centered leadership. Was good old John Adair. is not clear cut, this plotting of sheets. It's not clear cut. And that's why there's 265 million Google entries. It's because it is indistinct. There's always arguments. I think Wilson also says that management development is there's three types of management development, whether it's integrated or separated out. So again, there's always something mysterious about this. Now, okay, what do people think about this? Any comments on the plotting? Problem solving is a funny one. Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that a little bit, because problem solving, I think it could well be both camps. Yeah, you get. Huh? In fact, that could go for any fund development. Listening is important, but probably listening is probably in a way more important than, or just as important than actually communicating. It's that two-way you see it. You need to listen. I should be, in a way, perhaps a role model to you guys. Because I'm a professional and I should have integrity. And I haven't got integrity because I lied to you. They are colour-coded. Okay, I'll change that because it makes it a bit easier. But I didn't want to spoil the fun. What we're talking about here is that the pink sheets are, in my humble opinion, and it is open debate, more to do with management than leadership. Okay? So if you just look at the colour code, if you're an impressionist, that's not too bad, is it? You know, at least the yellows are more to the right-hand side. But if you look at leadership, and you've got, this is going back to this sort of mysterious about leadership. If you look at some, not all, but some famous sort of leaders in history, it's very difficult to actually define why they were so successful, isn't it? I mean, it always amazed me how some of the historical leaders, the ones that we know about in reference in modern times, were so successful. They must have had some X factor. They must have had something about them. Maybe it was charisma, but not all of them. Not all of them seem to have that charisma. You know, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Some of them were very loud, weren't they? Loud and very famous orators. Hitler was a orator. Yes, he was. Yes, but he was, as you say, he was a very effective orator because he could. It's because there should be something here about, look ahead, infuse, share a vision. Hitler had a vision, so did Martin Luther King have a vision. Very famously, he had, I have a dream. That was his vision. But others, Gandhi, they weren't, well, as far as I'm concerned, I haven't studied Gandhi, but he seemed to be a very sort of mild and meek man. I'm sure he wasn't. But that's his persona, wasn't it? His persona really was very mild and meek. So there is something mysterious about this. And what it is because the management skills can be seen as more transactional. They're talking about processes, to perhaps maintain the status quo, to go for more effectiveness and efficiencies. So it's what's termed as the hard skills of management. Yeah? Budget management, setting objectives, managing tasks. They're all programs you can go on that actually introduce you to various theories. It's about how you manage budgets. There are some disciplines and accepted practices about how you manage budgets. But there's no accepted practice about how you infuse people or how you share a vision. So it's very different, isn't it? Because, and the mysterious part of it is this is about soft skills. A lot of it is about self-awareness, your own self-awareness and how you interact with other people. Yeah? So all those leaders will have probably a high degree of self-awareness and how they impacted on other people. Yeah? But you can see that it's a much more softer skills. It's not transactional about making things a little bit better. You know, eking out a few more pennies out of the budget. It's about, you know, taking risks. I mean, I shouldn't actually have risk taking up there, actually. Infusing people. And that is quite mystical. If we really understood it and bottled it, we'd all be billionaire overnight. We really would, okay? So the development of management, which encompasses these two components, and one is not better than the other. I'm not saying that leadership is better than management. They are mutually supportive. But what we're saying is that the development of those skills are very different. If you're trying to develop soft skills, transformational skills, is to be very different than, say, more practical, hard, transactional skills. Okay? And that's all I'm saying. I'm banging on about this, but you need to understand that. If it does come up in a question, you need to actually make that point, that you understand the difference between management and development, which is part of modern day management. We also mentioned that what's accepted practice now in the UK and Ireland, they tend to use the term leadership development. Sorry, no, they don't, but management development. The rest of the world seems to use the term leadership, developing leadership, okay? But it's the same sort of term, it's the same sort of concept that we're talking about. Okay, just to make that a bit clearer, this is quite a good way of actually describing or understanding or remembering the differences. So management comes from the Latin manus, or hand, and that's very much about task, yeah? Controlling, fiddling with knobs, controlling the budgets, looking at procedures and processes, etc. Where leadership comes from Norse or Anglo-Saxon, being path or route. So again, you've got that share a vision, you know, I have a dream, follow me, infuse them, explaining goals, forward goals, etc. Not only what we have to do over the next 5 to 10 years, but I'm going to tell you how we're going to do it. I'm not going to do it myself, I'm telling you how to do it, okay? So again, I think that's quite useful to just sort of explore. Right, okay, 10 minutes. Anybody got any comments on that? Sorry, you had a question. You had your hand up.
No, I was just going to say that you said how the leaders become leaders versus when you're the leader that if you can get people to follow you. Each one you mentioned how followers, so how they kept the followers.
Yes. How they kept, yeah. And I think in a way, reputation, in fact, once you're successful, it sort of helps because your reputation precedes you, doesn't it? I mean, we live in a society of celebrity, and I'm sure that if I met the winner of the X Factor, I feel a bit nervous. Well, no, you think they're special, I think, or the aura around them. You know, I really wouldn't, you know, I don't even know who, I've never watched X Factor, only by accident. But if you're going to meet sort of Stalin or Saddam Hussein or any of these people, you're going to have a bit on apart from the fact that they're actually sort of psychopathic murderers, but yes, you're going to have a bit of that charisma has to transcend itself. But they must have got that somewhere before. And I've got the answers to this. It's an interesting debate, but it's very poor that I've actually got a reference. I've got to look up whether I should know this. But who said some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them? Who said that?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Some are born great, so they're leaders. Some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. Shakespeare, 12th night within Shakespeare. And this is an interesting debate where the leaders are born or they become leaders because they actually develop those skills, or they have greatness thrust upon them. I certainly know that there's a lot of managers out there who have had greatness thrust upon them. Yeah. because they're in jobs they shouldn't be in, because they are being promoted, because they've just been such a pain in the backside, or through pure luck, or because they're good at politicking.
Shakespeare.
Hmm?
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare.
12th Night.
12th Night, yes.
Tim Wilson.
Yes.
Those of you who've read this chapter.
I'm sure that people knew it anyway, but yes, it's referenced by Shakespeare. It's an interesting debate. I must admit, as I was driving through, I wondered about this, about are people born with greatness? I think certainly it helps to have the proper set of genes, but also socialisation starts as a baby, and I do think that you actually have to have those great and that socialisation to develop those skills, but also the opportunities to develop those skills. How many people in history have actually been far better leaders than Winston Churchill or Martin Luther King, but haven't had the opportunity? Probably, exactly. And we probably all know those people, don't we, in our own communities? Yeah? Whether it's, religious leaders or whatever, they're leaders in their own community, okay? And you say there's lots of charts about history, about who actually had leadership thrust upon them. It's quite an interesting story that in the Second World War there was a big battle in the North African campaign against a really great leader, a very great general called Erwin Rommel, who was German. He was a sort of a genius about military strategy. And the British kept losing battle after battle against Rommel. Okay, they just couldn't beat him. Okay, and it was dark days in the war. We could have been invaded, etc. We could all be speaking German now. And Churchill sacked the incumbent general by saying, "You keep retreating. You need to stand firm and defeat the Germans." So they looked round and they said, "Right, we'll appoint a general called General Gott." Okay, and he got the promotion. He was flying over from, I think, Europe to Africa, and his plane got shot down, okay, by the Germans. He was killed, so he didn't arrive, okay. So they looked for a second person, an understudy, and it was Montgomery, okay, who then found out to be a very good leader and won the battle for El Alamein, okay. But my point is, in retrospective, they were saying that Gott was a very good manager. He was a very good logistical officer, okay, very good at procedures and policies and whatever. He wasn't the best leader. So just by chance, greatness was thrust upon Montgomery. Okay? So it's just one little example about how fate can intervene. Okay? Right. The other thing I would say there about why it's made perhaps mystical is because it defies logic. Okay, there's a bit of biology behind this. In that, I'm not a neurosurgeon, but there are two basic systems of the brain. The limbic system governs feelings, okay, which is more powerful than the neocortex, which is about rational thought. So, in a way, if you want to motivate people, you want to really go back to your feelings, your emotions. And that's why I think sometimes it's very difficult for academics or people to study this area to really understand what leadership is about and how you can become a successful leader. Okay? So again, that could be another clue as to why it's so mystical. Going back to the actual academic side of this sort of lecture, this is the CIPD definition of management and leadership and development. God, ain't it boring? Sorry. I mean, sometimes CIPD are a bit, but what they're saying is management development is taken to cover the entire structured process. So a management development program does not happen by chance. It's a very structured program, and it's seen as structured. It's got multi-layers to it, okay? And it's for the benefit, the two-way streets, okay, of the employing organisations and themselves, okay? So it's a mutual benefit, but it's structured as well. That's the main two things that you need to consider. I've lost my screen here. Okay, I'll just cover this slide, and I think we can break for 10 minutes. Awful slide, too much text on that slide, but this is really important. You really, in fact, sorry? Oh, I see.
He didn't say be quiet, he said, shh, I'm not an animal, so don't talk to me.
Look, can we just... Before I show that slide, I should have showed that slide, but I want to ask you, why is management development so important? You know, if you get organisations, IT skills, developing IT skills is important, communication skills is important, customer care skills is important, but why specifically is the number one training priority of any organisation management development? Why? Why focus on managers so much?
Because they manage the team.
They manage the team.
You manage your team because not everyone is able to manage their work. So you need someone to help you, tell you what to do. Some people need that, not everyone does.
Going back to our definition, wow, yeah, that's very important, isn't it? That you actually can actually identify what needs to be done and how you're going to do it. So vision and strategy. They form vision and strategy. Number one. Anything else? Huh? And they motivate. Yes, exactly. It's only having a vision and a strategic plan. It tends to be in a very glossy corporate document. That's a start. It's not going to go anywhere, is it? You do need to motivate. You need to start infusing people. Yeah. So they are really those sort of engagers of staff. I think that's the term that we use nowadays, engaging staff.
Because their decisions in most way affect the whole organization, how it operates, as well as culture and stuff. So they're actually shaping the whole view of the company and the way it goes.
Yes. It doesn't just, you don't confuse just by sort of shouting at people or making cups of tea or being a role model. It's about shaping the culture. And that's a whole different subject about organisational culture. Very much key to my heart with organisational development, about understanding organisational culture and trying to tweak it slightly. But you're right, they set the cultural backdrop, and then the reputation of the organisation. Because I've never worked for Apple, but I would like to work for Apple. It sounds like a really fun place to be, doesn't it? It seems to me it's an organisation that's got values. And I don't know, it just seems to be a really good way to sort of develop your own skills, etc. And there's probably other organisations that I would not like to work for, but that doesn't happen by accident. And Steve Jobs is again, another often cited modern leader. So he had to, but then what did he have? I don't know. I haven't studied Steve Jobs, but he had something, didn't he? And it was a bit of a, he could sort of entertain on stage, but that's not enough. Right, okay. Anything else? Anything why we invest so heavily in management development? You've got some good ones there, you've got some really good answers there, so let's see what the slide says. And Wilson actually adds to this. Top one, bottom line really, goes back to that definition really. If you haven't got effective leaders and managers, then how, the organisation can't actually perform itself. It can maintain itself, in times of stability. But in this day and age, what organisation is stable? It may have happened, say, 20, 30 years ago, but we're constantly changing. You need to be transformational as opposed to transactional. Interpreters of the organisation's vision and the executors of its strategy. So what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. Okay? Managers act as gatekeepers to quality. This is more perhaps about the benefits and the real value of management. I'm not being funny, but there's a lot of things I wouldn't be doing in my job if I didn't have someone emailing me or contacting me by saying, Greg, have you got those figures? Have you set the KPIs again? How are we progressing on against that objective? They do push performance. Okay, and that's the core of management. Again, we've got that here, the conduit to improve employee motivation and satisfaction. Okay, and also the cultural challenge. So you've got some good, you've got the hard one there, so well done on that. Wilson does expand on that slightly. He's saying that in the last 10 years, there's even more of a focus on management development, or the need to focus on management development. And what he cites really is increased change. Big deal, we all know that. But certainly technology, technology is changing now. I mean, 2 years ago, we wouldn't even think of actually allowing this guy here to be tapping into his phone. I won't ask you what you're tapping into, but we can't say, "Wait, turn it off," because people use the technology for learning. Okay, so it's a little example of how technology has actually impacted on us. So again, we do need to actually make sure we have managers who can keep abreast of the technical enhancements. Globalisation. Apple is a great example of that, isn't it? Apple, iPhones and whatever, it's a global product. And therefore, its marketing campaigns have to be global. They have to understand their markets. That when you market an iPhone in South America, it may be slightly different to, say, market in China. Also, the case with globalisation is resources, cheaper labour costs. Someone told me actually that although Apple for iPhones are actually made in China, it only makes it $8 cheaper to make it in China. So there's not masses and masses of discounts to be had here. A lot of it is the intellectual rights of the iPhone and the brand and the marketing. It's still important. If you can save $8 a phone, save $8. Structures. A lot of organisations now are delayering. They don't need middle managers. Because for many reasons, because of new technology, you don't need the more middle managers. For instance, the cascading of strategy or communications. In the past, it's been quite a hierarchical thing. I know the knowledge. Knowledge is power. And I'm going to call a meeting. I'm going to tell you what you need to know. Only what you need to know. I'll keep the rest to myself. You can't do this in this day and age. Yeah, because of new technology. Yeah. Real forces for change. And also the dynamics of careers have changed as well. Which does make a bit of go on a bit about this, about the those who've done career management, about the new deal and the old deal psychological contract, where now most people are actually working for an organisation, they can't expect to be with them for 20, 30 years. Maybe they're there for, say, 2 or 4 years. So therefore, they need to develop their own careers. Okay? So to do that, managers have to take responsibility for their own development and not just wait for the corporate management development program to hit their desk. Because they have to be marketable. Yeah? And what he does say is that a lot of managers do need to start concentration on general skills as opposed to bespoke skills. Okay? To be market driven. Okay. I think it's probably a good place to pause. And Margaret, how long do we usually have to wait?
We have sort of 10 minutes or so, but what I would like, if I could, just to give just for a few more minutes, because I've got a guest speaker,
Oh,
Antoinette from the third year, who's kindly come to say a little bit about the various things.
Hello, Greg. Good morning. Right, I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the HRD conference, exhibition, that's going to be held next week, Wednesday. As a student that's been there and I've had the experience, I just want to, explain a little bit more about what it's all about. The HRD exhibition that's being held at the Olympic is an avenue where most of these things that you're learning, you'll get first-hand experience of what it's like, meaning that there'll be lots of organizations that are telling you about learning and development, management, and leadership. And also, it's a place where you can get exposure as students. So I would advise anyone that's gonna be coming along to try and get some business started, because it's very useful to network as well. And there'll be some mini seminars which you can sit on and hear what other organization has to say. Last year during my exam, I realized that most of the materials that I got there was very useful to the exam. And as a result of that, I got a very high grade. So, that's something that you need to take into account. We got the opportunity as well to go to the CIPD lounge, which is very nice and very exclusive. So you feel very special knowing that you're sitting there. And of course, Margaret got us in where we got all the free coffees and teas and sit and interact with everybody. We also got the opportunity to talk to ladies from the CIPD that had positions in the organization. And I know that a lot of you know that in order for you to be considered a professional, you have to be a member of the CIPD. So this is a good avenue where you can actually find out what CIPD accreditation is all about and what you need to do to get that, recognition as a profession. So, so that's one of the things Margaret wanted me to talk to you about. So I would encourage all of you to come along, to participate, come along with an open mind, flat shoes, because trust me, it's a lot of walking around, because it's a very big place. So wear comfortable shoes, and just come along for the experience, And I don't know if you will give me the opportunity, Margaret, while I'm here to speak to them about, right. And also what we want to do this year, and I know Margaret's been talking to a lot of you about it. Last year we had an event, a boat party for the HR students, and it was a really enjoyable event, and I can see one of the faces that were there. Even though we didn't have a lot of participants, but it was very enjoyable. And it's something that Margaret is hoping that will continue yearly. It's somewhere where you can network with other students to find out what their year was like. Obviously, because you're moving on to the third year, you need to have a basic idea of what it's going to be like, what the course is going to be like. And also, it's an event where you can let your hair down and party. And believe me, Margaret can dance. She wants to be dancing, There's no restriction. You don't feel like you're a student, you need to act appropriately. It's just good food, dancing, seeing the sights around London. So it's something I would, encourage you to participate in. We're hoping to go, we're planning to go sometime in May. But what I want, and I've got a few names, is for the year 2 students to come along and plan this event, because I'm a third year student, I'll be going. And it's something that we want to continue to do. So we want you to be the one to plan it, so that next year you can train somebody, see training and development? You can train somebody to plan it for the other students in the following year. So if anybody wants to help out with that event, you can see me, I'll be here, so you can see me after. I've got a few of your names, and I know I should have met up with you, but I've been very busy. But it's just something I want to encourage you all to participate in. Because studying HR is very good, there's a lot of opportunity, and the more you get out there and do things, you will see that you will meet people who can help you. Because I started off working with Margaret as an intern, and that opened so many doors for me, because at the moment, through a lot of networking, I got an opportunity to work in the NHS already, in the Human Resource Management Office. And that is because I actively participated in the university. I wasn't just a student, I did things. And when you do things, you meet people that will pass your name on to somebody, and somebody knows somebody, and eventually, because through that, I got the opportunity to meet the HR director of the NHS Bars London. And trust me, it was not easy meeting that man, because his diary was completely booked. So he had to remove somebody to put me in. And through that network, I was able to get a job, even though I'm still in university. So I would encourage you to actively participate in the university life and cooperate with the tutors, participate in anything that you're asked to participate in. As I said, in HRD exhibition, carry your business card. You don't know who you might meet. Simple, I'm an HRM student. That's all you have to say. This is my contact details. Somebody might be able to offer you something. So that's all I have to say. Just want to know, have anybody got any questions? Because I've said a lot non-stop.
Is the event for HR students?
Yes. We want to see the numbers first, obviously, because it's open to year 1, 2, 3, master students as well, so we have to see the numbers. but something I would, encourage everybody to try and be a part of.
If you're not an HR student, you can go on the waiting list.
You go on the waiting list if you're not an HR student, but the spaces are open because there's a limit, I think, of 100 students. So we need to get the HR students in first. But if anybody is interested and they want to help, I'll be sitting at the back. You can see me after your lecture.
I am also looking for an intern if anybody's interested.
And Margaret, and trust me, work with Margaret. She will point you in the right direction.
Thank you very much, Antoinette. Thank you. Thank you for saying, you would recognise Antoinette 2 years ago. She was shy, tiny.
Yes.
Look, guys, I've got a deal for you here. Give me another 10 minutes, and I think I can finish this lecture. Okay, because by the time we depart, come back again, we're not good use of anybody's time. So we can continue for 10 minutes, and we haven't got a workshop. We will see you in your seminars at 12 o'clock. Okay? Is that fair? Yeah. Go for it. Yeah. Okay. There's just a few. We've got to this part, haven't we? What I want you to do is just slightly digress slightly into the term talent management. Because in many ways, talent doesn't have to be linked to management development, but it tends to be. I'd say about 70-80% of people who go on a talent management program, when you hire them actually, do tend to be leaders and managers. Okay, and it's often quoted term. I just really want you to explain what you mean by talent management. And I think it's although I thought the CIPD definition of management development was rather boring, I think this is cracking. I think it's a really good definition of what talent management is. Okay, and why do I like it? It's long.
Hands up everybody who's talented in this room.
Yes. Interesting.
Everybody.
Everybody's talented. That's a good question to ask. Anybody works for an organisation, are they talented? No. It's a bit unfortunate that we're not really talented. We are talented to a degree, but some of us are actually talented in maybe some specialist areas. But just so I can ground this, is that talent management is not just about development. It's a whole complete package of attraction. Yeah. Well, for Apple, we're going places. We're a world-leading brand, etc. They can easily attract talent. Can you attract talent? How do we attract talent? Because we need talented staff. Whether it's a guy or a woman on security or someone providing a lecture or seminar. So, how do we attract talent? Very difficult, because there's not much to choose from, like South Bank, Greenwich. We need to really market ourselves to be distinct. So we've been trying to work at that, about our distinctness in London. So things like, the Olympics were a good bit of PR for us, and to help shape our reputation. But I think really what we tend to play on is our location, that we're East London. We're not South Bank. We're not, You don't watch a program called South Bankers, do you? You're right there. It's EastEnders. Yeah, we do have an identity. We have a sense of community, and I think also a sense of sort of social calling, really, because East London has always been the quiet part of London. Yeah, so we do tend to attract, should we say, do-gooders, people who could have gone to a much more prestigious university. We attract a lot of people. Just recruited someone who was due to go to London School of Economics, one of the top 5 universities in the country, decided to come here. He wants the challenge. Yeah? And he has that sort of social calling. So again, that's how we attract talent, and lots of other organisations should be conscious of that. Some of them aren't. There's a war out there, a battle to get the best talented people. So that's what we try to do first of all on the recruitment side, how we attract them. The identification then is more difficult, and the subsequent development and engagement is more difficult. So how do companies identify talent? Any idea? Any kind of experiences of a company that you know, how they differentiate between the talented and the more talented? Yes, that's a good. I mean, recruitment interviews should not be benign. They should not be passive. We should get them doing more, because the more they do, they've got an opportunity to illustrate their talent. Okay. So what we're bringing in now, you'll be a god with this actually, but we're now just insisting that every time a lecturer is interviewed, they're not just simply interviewed. They have to conduct a micro teaching session in front of the interview panel. Why they haven't done this before, I don't know. But that's how you get them to illustrate, are they good? They may not be perfect, but as long as they've got the general skills of listening, communication, can engage, etc. Yeah, if they're a bit rough around the edges, we can develop them. If they haven't got that, it's a bit of a waste of time, really, isn't it? So what we're trying to do is make sure that the recruitment process is active enough for them to actually illustrate their talent. I suppose the most common form of that is graduate intakes. You know, a lot of the large big banks in the city have a graduate intake, management trainees, fast tracks, civil servants. Civil servants they've always got a tradition of actually bringing in some high flyers, yeah, and they'd be fast tracked. They're sort of earmarked. They're predicted to go up the organisation. Doesn't always happen, but that's their prediction. Okay, so you need mechanisms within an organisation to start identifying talent. And here at UEL, we are attempting to introduce such a system. I say attempting to because nobody agrees with it. Okay? Where we have a form where basically when you appraise someone, you put them in a box. So this is high potential, this is high performance. So if you are talented, you go in that box there. Once you're seen as talented, you then go on a bespoke development program, yeah, over 2 or 3 years. Pressure, define pressure. Yes, but these people have got potential. So if you just bear with me a moment, if you've got one axis, this is performance. To be talented, to be a potential chief exec or senior manager, is it good enough just to be good at your job? It's not, is it? But good performance, you have to have a track record of good performance. Not just 1 year, but at least 3 or 4 years to say, yeah, Greg just hasn't had a lucky year or a bumper year. He's proved to us that year on year he's got consistent results in performance. What's missing? What do we also need to test apart from how good you are at your job? Yeah, brilliant, yes. Potential. Now, it's very difficult to define what we mean by potential, okay? That axis there. But that's what it is. It's about ambition, yeah? You need to have that fire in the belly to say, I want to get to the top, okay? And I'm really determined and I'm prepared to make sacrifices to get there, okay? Now, again, is that enough? No. Why is it enough? You do need support. And I think this is the issue about what Wilson says about in this day and age, if you, in the absence of organisation support in the form of a management development programme, managers should initiate their own development. Yeah, I'm going along with that to a certain degree, but you do need the funding, you do need the support, you do need to be allowed to go on a course, but also to apply what you've learned. So you'd be greatly disadvantaged if you didn't actually. I think the argument is it's a bit of both, yeah. And this goes in career management. But nowadays, you need to take responsibility for your careers, but also be supported by the organisation. But So, okay, so we've got good performance and we've got ambition. Is that enough? There's just one other thing I think that we need to consider. Is that you were nearly on to when you said about pressure. What do people need to have to get to the top? Huh? Motivation. Experience. Attitude is partly part of attitude. A willingness to do it. No, true. They have to be future-proof.
They might like what they're actually doing.
Yes.
But saying, oh, you should be doing this.
But there's certain tests we give staff to make sure that they have got that. Our predictions are going to be accurate. Now, we may not do it in a sort of overly overt way, but what we do is we test their resilience. Yeah? Lots of pressure. You need to be able to handle pressure. Yeah? And you have to be able to manage your own stress levels. Time management and all those things. But it's also about being resilient, but also being quite thick-skinned. You have to have awkward conversations with staff. If you think something have to go to general management, you may have to tell somebody, I'm sorry, you're not good enough, you're fired. Yeah. And it's okay for the students to say that when it's an entertainment programme. Having awkward conversations is really, really tough thing to do. Yeah? Because when you're involved, like I am in HR, if you're involved in a case of disciplining someone or even sacking someone, you take that home with you. You don't just say, right, it's 5 o'clock, I'm going home. You get it personally. You need to be able to manage that. Yeah, I mean, yes, exactly. I mean, you can have people, you can have grown men crying in front of you, saying please don't sack me because I've got a family to support.
Have you ever sacked people?
We don't, it's not like you're fired, but we have a due process, so yes we do. Yes we do. Yes, we
You personally.
I have to attend disciplinary hearings where I have to advise on procedure and policy. So I'm not the chair. The chair is usually a dean or one of our pro-vice chancellors, but I have to advise on policy. So I have an influence, put it that way. I have to make sure that the cases don't fall apart and we haven't followed our own procedures, which is you can go to appeal and then you can also go to employment tribunal as well. So you have to make sure you're not going to be caught out. Okay? Or make sure that people have got a fair hearing as well. The thing about HR is that we always think as a tool of management. You also need to say, well, we need to make some time for staff as well. We are there for management, to be honest. But we also need to have a sense of fair play and justice. So we always have to make sure that fair play is also carried out. So what we're saying there is and I think Mark introduced it, is it fair? Do you think it's justified for organisations to say, right, we're going to differentiate with a new EL to say you are talented and you are not. And you're going to be treated differently because you are talented. Is that justified? Huh? Oh, cool. I'm not saying this to, I mean, no. I think in HR terms it is justified.
Yeah.
Otherwise we wouldn't have concepts like talent management, CIPD quoted it, etc. Of course you've got to finesse it, you've got to make sure it's transparent. However, interesting, when we're discussing this amongst staff, and we had a lot of opposition to this, and my prediction is we probably won't do this. But some people are saying the good thing about this is that what you have to do is once you've put someone in a box, you have to go to a moderation panel, where you have to go with your peers and justify why you put Greg at the top here. Just go with this one. Okay, so when you're saying Greg's that talented, well I've got another manager in IT, that same grade, and he's done far more than Greg. They had to argue that out. And the benefit a lot of people said is it stops individual managers playing God. Okay? Exactly. You get nepotism, so for equality and diversity, it could be very useful. Because you can't just say, you're my mate. Yeah, you happen to be a white man. Yeah? I'll put you through. Now, I'm saying it happens, but it could happen. Yeah? Yes, I mean, we have to guard against that. We do tend to recruit in our own image. It's true. You know, psychologically, we do tend to recruit in our own image. Yeah, so we have to be aware of that, the diversity of it. I will hang on because I'll give you another 5 minutes and I'll finish. So again, it's a complete package, okay? So it's identification, development, engagement. Once you've got them, you've got to have engagement. These talented people, you want to use them. Oh, they're going to get bored, aren't they? Saying, I'm wasting time here. You know, I'm wasting my time. Interesting, how we go to a new UEL Plus system with Moodle. Some of them are academics. I would say some of them are probably more talented academics saying UEL better improve their systems, not just for the sake of the student, but for my career development. Because all the other universities are using Moodle, have been using it for 2 years. You just come over, you just migrate it now. So there's pressure. When you say about engaging, you just need to make sure you're giving them an environment that they can thrive in. They can thrive and develop their careers. They're not going to be with you all the time. They may only be with you for 5 years. Okay? So interesting debate, but if it does come up at all, is that philosophical argument about is it justified? Because what you've got to be careful of, it could break the culture. If you don't do it with finesse and fairness, you could destroy a very democratic and collegiate culture. Yeah? Particularly at UEL, which we thrive on. So again, debate on talent management. It's a bit of a boring slide, but I'm just about to cover it really. Is that for any management development program to be successful, it has to be linked to the clear vision. It can't just say, well, we're going to give you some, you know, put you on an MBA course. Yeah, but how can I apply my learning? I'll just go on the MBA course and come back in 3 years' time. Yeah? It needs to be linked in with the organisation, with culture, mission and objectives. Yeah? Pretty obvious point to make, but some organisations just write out the check and say, right, see you in 3 years' time. It needs to be embedded in the organisation's mission. And also relate to external challenges. If you're going to put someone on a development program, you want that development to actually be real. So it needs to really relate to the internal challenges that are afoot, and also the external forces as well. So in UEL, the internal challenges are use of IT. We're putting a hell of a lot of money into IT. It's under-resourced. We're going to be employing 25 new IT staff over the next 2 years. We've only got 50 staff at the moment. Yeah, when we compare ourselves to other universities, we're woefully understaffed. Okay, so that's an internal challenge. Okay, so any management development program needs to be aware of that. That's one factor. External environment could also be the charge of £9,000. You know, expectations of students will change. Okay? So we have to be aware of that. So as a manager, how are you going to be meeting that expectation? Two little examples there really about it has to be related to external challenges and internal issues, and also tailored to the needs of the individual and the organisation. This came out again in the previous definition. McDonald's are very good at this. I think they put for about 80,000 people through some sort of accredited programme. But what they do say is that if you want to be a frontline manager, go on with our MVQ programmes. You may only be with us for about 3 or 4 years, but at least we give you an accredited programme that's going to help you in your career. Right, I think I've got one more slide. And if it's not complete, if it doesn't meet those previous conditions, it can be fragmented, accidental development, formalised. It can still be formalised, but not really embedded. Okay, so again, it's a short-term gain. But if it's strategically focused, it can be actually embedded. Some health warnings can be used to maintain the status quo. But the good thing is, if we were to do that system of talent management or management development, there may be questions if they're all white men. Say, why are there all white men now? Yeah. So again, it's going to... Okay. And also compensation is going to be reward. You're going on a residential in a nice swanky hotel. It's not really a development program. It's just a thank you very much. Have a midnight bar, go to the spa, etc. So you have to sort of guard against that. And it's interesting that Wilson does mention this, quite interesting, that to evaluate training development, I'll put more slides, to evaluate training development in management is very difficult, okay, because there's so, if we talk about leadership is mysterious, how do you can it? How do you measure it? Very, very difficult. But what he's saying there is there's some byproducts by benefits of a management development program. We could actually help maintain a reputation. And work here, they really develop you. We're an IRP company, we're an IRP Gold company. And part of that is offering a management development program. It actually helps people manage their careers, so it actually supports that psychological contract. So there's lots of byproducts of management development, and that's contained in Wilson, and it's a short chapter, 19, but I really would suggest you read it. Because again, I introduced this lecture, and I'll end on the lecture by saying this could well be an exam question. So I'll put my slides up probably tomorrow, but please, please, please read chapter 19. I promise you, you just allocate yourself an hour to do that. It'll pay dividends. Okay, thanks very much, and we'll see you at the seminar.